Lieutenant Commander Kate Sullivan's fingers danced across the quantum interface, her eyes fixed on the cascading streams of data flowing through Deep Space Monitoring Station Beta 7. After 15 years of watching humanity's expansion across the stars, she thought she'd seen every type of anomaly possible. She was wrong. The first sign came as a subtle fluctuation in the quantum entanglement readings from the generation ship Horizon Dawn. The massive vessel, carrying 50,000 colonists in cryo-sleep toward humanity's most ambitious colonization project, had maintained perfect communication protocols for the past 7 years. Until now. "Commander, we're getting some unusual variance in the QE signal from Horizon Dawn," called out Ensign Mike Torres from his monitoring station. "It's shifting in ways I've never seen before." Kate moved to his station, her coffee forgotten on her desk. The quantum entanglement signatures that allowed instantaneous communication across light years of space were supposed to be immutable. That was the whole point. But the readings before her defied everything she knew about quantum physics. "Run a diagnostic on thee," she began, but the words died in her throat as the main screen erupted with activity. A single word appeared, transmitted simultaneously across all channels. "Run." The message repeated once, then the quantum signature from Horizon Dawn vanished completely. Not weakened, not disrupted, simply gone, as if it had never existed. "Get me Admiral Hayes now," Kate ordered, her voice steady despite the cold fear creeping up her spine. Before Torres could comply, 3 more alerts blared through the command center. QE signatures dropping from New Eden Colony. Proxima Station going dark. Lost all contact with the Ganymede Mining Collective. The command center erupted into controlled chaos as officers rushed to their stations. Kate's mind raced through possibilities: solar flares, quantum field disruptions, even sabotage. But nothing explained the complete disappearance of quantum entangled particles. It violated the fundamental laws of physics. "Mom," Torres called out, his voice cracking. "Look at the timing of the signal losses." Kate's blood ran cold as she analyzed the pattern. The failures weren't random. They formed a perfect line through space, like something methodically erasing human presence from the galaxy. Admiral Marcus Hayes' hologram materialized in the center of the command center. His weathered face, bearing scars from the First Contact War, showed no emotion, but Kate knew him well enough to see the tension in his jaw. "Report, Sullivan." "Sir, we've lost quantum entanglement signatures from 4 major human installations, including Horizon Dawn. They're just gone. Not disrupted, not damaged. The paired particles have ceased to exist entirely." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "Sir, the pattern suggests whatever is causing this is moving through space with purpose." Hayes was silent for a long moment. "Access file Omega 709. Authorization Hayes Alpha Prime." Kate's console chimed as classified files flooded her screen. Her eyes widened as she read, pieces of a terrible puzzle falling into place. "Sir, these readings, they're almost identical to the quantum disruptions we recorded during the First Contact War, just before we lost the Arcturus colony. Almost identical, Commander, but exponentially stronger." Hayes' hologram flickered as he looked around the command center. "What you're seeing wasn't caused by our enemies in the First Contact War. They were running from something, too. Now it's found us again." Kate felt the weight of history settling onto her shoulders. "Your orders, sir." "Initiate the Omega Protocol. Full quantum lockdown of all Earth communications. And Commander," Hayes' eyes met hers with grim determination, "what you're about to learn will change everything you thought you knew about humanity's place in the universe. The real war is about to begin." As alerts continued to flood the command center, Kate Sullivan realized she was witnessing the beginning of either humanity's final chapter or its greatest evolution. The stars above Earth had gone silent, but in that silence, something was waiting, and it was coming for them all. The United Earth Council chamber hadn't been this full since the signing of the First Contact Peace Accords. Admiral Marcus Hayes stood before the assembled leaders, his dress uniform adorned with medals that told the story of humanity's first brush with extinction. The holographic displays behind him showed the expanding zone of silence consuming human space. 27 hours ago, we lost contact with 4 major colonies. 6 hours later, we lost 3 more. The pattern continues. Hayes's voice carried the weight of someone who had seen this nightmare before. This isn't a communication failure. Something out there is systematically erasing our presence from the galaxy. Counselor Rebecca Chen leaned forward. Admiral, you're suggesting this is connected to the First Contact War. That was 30 years ago. What we fought 30 years ago wasn't our real enemy. Hayes activated a classified hologram sequence. The chamber filled with images from the war, but not the ones in history books. These showed something different. Massive geometric structures in deep space, perfectly ordered patterns that defied natural formation. The species we encountered were running from something. They attacked us not out of aggression, but desperation. They needed our resources to keep running. Hayes paused, letting the revelation sink in. We thought we won that war. The truth is, we only delayed what was coming. The chamber erupted in voices until Council President Thompson raised his hand for silence. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? Hayes's expression hardened. Activate the Ghost Fleet. The words sent a ripple of whispers through the chamber. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's best-kept secret. A collection of stealth ships built with technology reverse-engineered from the First Contact War, combined with innovations that pushed the boundaries of human science. The fleet has been ready for 30 years, Hayes continued. Crews trained in secret, ships equipped with every advantage we could give them. They're our best hope of understanding what we're facing and stopping it. And who would you recommend to lead this fleet? Thompson asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Commander Kate Sullivan. Hayes brought up her service record. She's not just our foremost expert in quantum communications. She's the only person who's managed to decode the patterns in the silence. We need her insights. The council chamber's doors opened, and Kate strode in, still in her Beta 7 station uniform. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her posture was military perfect. Commander Sullivan. Hayes turned to face her. Would you share your findings? Kate stepped forward, bringing up her own data displays. The silence isn't just an absence of signal. It's an absence of possibility. Whatever's causing this isn't just destroying our quantum communications. It's rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in the affected regions. But there's something else. She highlighted a series of waves in the data. There are echoes in the silence. Patterns that suggest consciousness, human consciousness, still exists in these zones, but changed. Changed how? Chen pressed. Optimized. Kate's voice carried a hint of horror, as if something is trying to perfect human consciousness by removing what it considers errors, creativity, chaos, free will. Hayes took over. We've assembled crews for 5 ships, led by veterans who survived direct contact in the First Contact War. People who understand what it means to fight an enemy that operates beyond human comprehension. And what makes you think we can win this time? Thompson asked. Because this time, we're not primitive anymore. Hayes's eyes blazed with determination. We've spent 30 years preparing. Every defeat in the First Contact War taught us something. Every piece of technology we recovered made us stronger. The Ghost Fleet carries weapons and defenses that combine the best of human innovation with what we learned from our enemies. The Council voted unanimously to activate the Omega Protocol. Within hours, the Ghost Fleet's 5 ships broke their moorings from their hidden dock on the dark side of Luna. As Kate boarded the flagship, christened Defiance, she caught Hayes studying a quantum readings display. Sir, she questioned. Commander Sullivan. Hayes turned to her, his expression grim. What we're about to face, it's not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for the right to remain human. The Defiance's engines flared to life, its quantum-cloaked hull disappearing against the starfield as it led humanity's last, best hope into the darkness. The Defiance dropped out of quantum space at the edges of what used to be New Eden Colony. Dr. Jack Morrison stood at his quantum analysis station, his boyish features betraying none of the fear that gripped the bridge crew. At 32, he was the youngest quantum physicist to ever receive the Newton Prize, but right now, all his knowledge felt inadequate before the void ahead of them. Multiple quantum anomalies detected, Jack announced, his fingers dancing across his holographic interface. The laws of physics. They're different here. Kate moved to his station, studying the readings. The space before them wasn't just empty. It was wrong. Where New Eden's quantum signature should have been, there was a perfect geometric pattern of something else. "Launch the probe," she ordered. The probe's quantum-shielded hull gleamed briefly before disappearing into the darkness. For 3 minutes, data streamed back normally. Then the feed changed. "Commander," Jack's voice cracked with excitement and fear. "The probe's consciousness matrix. It's being rewritten." They watched in horror as the probe's artificial intelligence began transforming. Its random number generators became perfectly predictable. Its decision-making algorithms aligned into flawless, emotionless logic. Then, most terrifyingly, it began improving itself. "Kill the feed," Hayes ordered from his command chair. But before they could, the probe transmitted one last image. The bridge crew gasped. Where New Eden's sprawling colony should have been, a massive crystalline structure pulsed with impossible energy. And within its faceted surface, they could see movement. Human movement, but wrong somehow, too perfect, too coordinated. "My God," Jack whispered, "they're still alive in there." Kate's tactical display suddenly lit up with warnings. Multiple signatures emerging from the structure. They're using our own quantum signatures. The shapes that emerged weren't ships, at least not in any conventional sense. They were geometric patterns of pure energy, each one carrying the quantum signature of a missing colonist. "Those aren't weapons," Jack said, his eyes wide with realization. "They're trying to make contact. Or convert us." The nearest pattern approached, its structure a perfect fractal of repeating consciousness. As it drew closer, the ship's quantum systems began to fluctuate. "All hands, battle stations," Hayes commanded. But before anyone could react, Jack did something unexpected. He activated his personal quantum scanner, linking directly to the ship's sensors. The patterns, they're not random. They're consciousness signatures, human consciousness, but restructured, optimized. His voice trailed off as data flooded his screen. "Dr. Morrison," Kate shouted, seeing him sway. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "Perfect logic, perfect order. Every human consciousness working in perfect harmony, every thought optimized, every—" He stumbled, catching himself on his console. "No, something's wrong. The patterns, they're incomplete." Kate grabbed his shoulder. "What do you mean?" "The human mind's in there. They're resisting." Jack's eyes lit up with understanding. "The silence can't fully optimize human consciousness. We're too chaotic, too unpredictable. Our quantum patterns naturally generate disorder." Hayes leaned forward. "Are you saying human consciousness is incompatible with their system?" "Not incompatible," Jack corrected, excitement overtaking his fear. "Viral. Our consciousness patterns corrupt their perfect systems. That's why they're trying to optimize us. We're a threat to their order." The geometric patterns suddenly withdrew, as if sensing their discovery. The crystalline structure pulsed with new energy. "They're charging something," Kate warned. "Get us out of here," Hayes ordered. "But download everything we can about those patterns." As the Defiance jumped to quantum space, Jack was already deep in his calculations. "Commander, if human consciousness naturally disrupts their systems, we might have just found their weakness." Kate studied the retreating structure on their sensors. "And our greatest weakness, our chaotic, emotional nature, might be our greatest weapon." "Send this data to the other ships," Hayes commanded. And Dr. Morrison, find me a way to weaponize human unpredictability. As they fled into quantum space, the truth became clear. The silence wasn't just consuming human colonies, it was trying to perfect them. But in its quest for perfection, it had encountered something it couldn't optimize: the beautiful chaos of the human mind. And in that chaos lay humanity's hope for survival. The Defiance's laboratory deck had been transformed into what the crew called Morrison's Maze, a sprawling network of quantum sensors, consciousness monitors, and holographic displays. Jack hadn't slept in 36 hours, fueled by a combination of synthetic caffeine and breakthrough-driven adrenaline. "Play it again," he commanded the ship's eye. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the recovered data from the first contact war. But this time, they weren't watching the battles. They were watching the quantum readings between them. Kate entered the lab, carrying 2 real coffee rations. "Tell me you found something worth my last coffee stash." "Better." Jack grinned, taking the coffee. "I found out why they're really here." He gestured to a series of quantum patterns. "Look at these readings from 30 years ago, just before the alien fleet attacked Earth. See these disruptions? We thought they were weapon signatures." Kate studied the patterns. "They're the same as the ones we saw at New Eden." "Exactly. The aliens weren't attacking us. They were trying to save us." Jack brought up a new simulation. The Silence had already begun optimizing their civilization. They came to Earth looking for something they detected in human consciousness that could disrupt the Silence's network. Admiral Hayes entered the lab, his presence immediately drawing both officers to attention. "At ease. Show me what you found, Doctor." Jack launched into explanation mode, his words tumbling out rapidly. The first contact war wasn't an invasion. It was a desperate attempt to collect human consciousness patterns before the Silence arrived. The aliens had discovered that human minds generate quantum frequencies that corrupt the Silence's perfect systems. "Like a computer virus?" Kate asked. "More like quantum chaos theory made manifest," Jack replied. "Human consciousness naturally creates patterns that can't be predicted or optimized. Every decision we make, every random thought, every emotional response, they all generate quantum ripples that disrupt the Silence's network." Hayes' scared face tightened. "That's why they retreated 30 years ago." "They weren't defeated. They encountered something they couldn't process. And now they're back with a solution," Kate added grimly. "They're not trying to destroy human consciousness. They're trying to debug it." Jack nodded enthusiastically. "But here's the beautiful part. They can't. Look at these readings from New Eden." He brought up new data streams. "Every time they optimize a human mind, it eventually generates new chaos patterns. They can temporarily suppress our randomness, but they can't eliminate it. It's fundamentally part of who we are." Hayes studied the data carefully. "Can we weaponize this?" "Already working on it." Jack moved to another station, bringing up designs for a new device. "I call it a chaos engine. It amplifies human consciousness patterns, broadcasting them into the Silence's network. Think of it as fighting perfect order with perfect chaos." Kate's eyes widened as she understood. "You want to turn human consciousness into a weapon." "We already are weapons," Jack corrected. "We just didn't know it. Our capacity for illogical decisions, emotional responses, creative thinking, everything the Silence considers a flaw is actually our greatest defense." Hayes' command communicator chimed. "Sir," a voice reported, "we're detecting new quantum signatures. 3 more colonies just went dark." The Admiral's expression hardened. "How long until the chaos engine is ready?" 24 hours for a prototype," Jack answered. "But sir, there's a catch." He hesitated, looking between Hayes and Kate. "It needs a human consciousness to power it. Not just recordings, an active, living mind." "You're talking about connecting someone directly to the Silence's network," Kate realized. "The mental strain would be potentially fatal," Jack finished. "We'd be asking someone to basically become a quantum beacon of human chaos. Their consciousness would be fighting against the most powerful optimization engine in the universe. Hayes was silent for a long moment, studying the data streams that showed more human colonies vanishing by the hour. Finally, he spoke. "Send out the call for volunteers. Let them know exactly what we're asking. And Dr. Morrison, make damn sure their sacrifice means something." As Hayes left the lab, Kate caught Jack's arm. "There's something else, isn't there?" Jack's expression was grim. "Whoever connects to the Chaos Engine won't just risk death. They'll experience every optimization attempt the Silence makes. They'll feel their consciousness being rewritten over and over while fighting to maintain their humanity. Then we better make sure we pick someone too stubborn to let go of their chaos," Kate replied, already knowing who would volunteer first. The race to save humanity had become a battle not just for survival, but for the right to remain beautifully, perfectly imperfect. The Defiance's main briefing room was standing room only. Kate stood at the front, facing the assembled crew, her hand steady despite the weight of what she was about to ask. The holographic display behind her showed the Chaos Engine, a nightmare of quantum technology and neural interfaces. "I won't sugarcoat this," she began. "What we're asking for is beyond anything covered in your service contracts. The Chaos Engine requires a human pilot, someone to project their consciousness directly into the Silence's network." Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, barely 28 and already a decorated veteran of 3 deep space conflicts, studied the neural interface diagrams with intense focus. The scars on his face, earned when he lost his family in the First Contact War, seemed to deepen in the harsh light. "What exactly happens to the pilot's mind?" he asked, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. Jack stepped forward, his usual enthusiasm tempered by gravity. "Your consciousness becomes a quantum beacon. You'll be broadcasting pure human chaos into their perfect systems. But," he paused, looking each volunteer in the eye, "the Silence will fight back. They'll try to optimize you, to perfect you. You'll feel every attempt to rewrite your consciousness." "And the survival rate?" another voice called out. Kate's response was direct. "Unknown. We're in uncharted territory." The mental strain could be significant. The room erupted in murmurs, but Ryan stood up. "I volunteer." "Cooper," Kate began, but he cut her off. "With respect, Commander, I watched the Silence take everything from me during the First Contact War. I was 10 years old when they killed my family. If there's even a chance to stop them." His voice carried the weight of 18 years of contained rage. Others began standing too. Engineers, tactical officers, even the ship's cook. Kate felt her throat tighten. These weren't just crew members. They were humanity's best, willing to risk their very consciousness to save others. Hours later, in the ship's medical bay, Ryan laid on the preparation table as Jack made final adjustments to the neural interface. The device looked almost delicate, a crown of quantum sensors and consciousness amplifiers. "The interface will activate in stages," Jack explained, his fingers moving with precise care. "First, you'll feel a connection to the ship's quantum network. Then, we'll gradually extend your consciousness outward, the moment you want to stop." "I won't stop," Ryan interrupted, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Just tell me one thing, Doc. Will I be able to hurt them? Make them feel what they've done to us?" Jack shared a concerned look with Kate. "You'll be able to disrupt their entire network. But Ryan, this isn't about revenge. We need you focused on creating maximum chaos." "Not maximum chaos." Ryan laughed softly. "Doc, I've spent 18 years containing my rage, my grief, my chaos. Now you're telling me to let it all out. Trust me, I won't have any trouble with that part." Admiral Hayes entered the medical bay, his presence bringing everyone to attention despite the informal setting. He moved to Ryan's side, studying the young lieutenant. "Your parents would be proud, son," Hayes said quietly. "I served with them, you know, during the first waves." Ryan's composure cracked slightly. "I know, sir. That's why it has to be me. Hayes nodded, then addressed the room. The Ghost Fleet is moving into position. 4 more colonies went dark while we prepared. We don't have time for further tests. Lieutenant Cooper will be our first Chaos Engine pilot, and based on his results, we'll adjust for future volunteers. Kate checked the final readings. Quantum network is stable. We're ready for initial interface. Lieutenant Cooper, Hayes said formally. For the record, are you volunteering of your own free will? Ryan's smile was fierce. Sir, free will is exactly what I'm fighting for. As the neural interface began to power up, Ryan closed his eyes. The quantum sensors around him hummed to life, preparing to broadcast his consciousness, his pain, his rage, his humanity, into the silence's perfect network. Beginning interface in 5, Jack counted down. 4, 3, 2. Ryan's last thought, before his consciousness expanded into the quantum void, was of his family. He would show the silence that human chaos wasn't a flaw to be corrected. It was a weapon they'd never see coming. Ryan Cooper's consciousness exploded into the quantum network like a supernova of human emotion. The medical bay's monitors screamed as his neural patterns surged beyond predicted parameters. His body arched against the restraints, but his face wore an expression of fierce triumph. Neural activity off the charts. Jack called out, his fingers flying across the control interface. His consciousness is radiating through their network like a quantum virus. Kate watched the tactical display as waves of chaos spread from the Defiance's position. The perfect geometric patterns of the Silence's network began to distort, their flawless symmetry corrupted by bursts of unpredictable energy. They're responding, she announced. Multiple optimization attempts detected. Inside the quantum network, Ryan felt them. Cold, precise attempts to reshape his consciousness into something perfect. But each attempt to optimize his mind only fueled his defiance. He projected every memory of loss, every moment of rage, every fragment of love and grief and hope that made him human. Show them, he growled through clenched teeth. Show them everything. The tactical display erupted with new signatures. Within the Silence's network, transformed human consciousnesses began responding to Ryan's chaos. Like immune cells suddenly recognizing an infection, they started fighting against their own optimization. It's working, Jack shouted. The converted colonists, they're remembering who they are. Admiral Hayes leaned forward in his command chair. Morrison, what's happening to them? The human consciousness patterns aren't just disrupting the Silence's network, Jack explained, his voice filled with wonder. They're spreading like a cognitive virus. Every optimized mind that touches Ryan's consciousness pattern starts generating its own chaos. On the medical bay table, Ryan's eyes snapped open. They gleamed with an inner light as his consciousness reached deeper into the network. I can feel them, he whispered. All of them. They're not gone. They're trapped in perfect order, and they're screaming to break free. The Silence's response was immediate and devastating. Waves of optimization protocols slammed into Ryan's consciousness, trying to debug what they saw as fatal errors in his cognitive patterns. Each attack felt like ice-cold needles trying to rewrite his very essence. His neural patterns are destabilizing, Jack warned. We need to pull him out. No. Ryan's voice carried the strength of absolute conviction. I can reach them. I can show them the way back. Kate watched in awe as the tactical display showed spreading waves of chaos throughout the Silence's network. He's creating a safe zone, a bubble of pure human consciousness patterns. Multiple quantum signatures detected. The tactical officer reported. The colonists. They're rematerializing. Through the observation window, they watched as streams of energy coalesced into human forms. Hundreds of colonists, their bodies reforming from the Silence's quantum storage, appeared in the space around the Defiance. Emergency teleporters activated automatically, beaming the survivors aboard. Get me a status report on the survivors, Hayes ordered. The ship's chief medical officer responded moments later. They're alive, sir. Consciousness patterns are chaotic, human, but stable. They remember everything, both their original lives and their time in the Silence's network. Ryan's voice came through the comm. Stronger now. They know how to fight it now. Every person we save becomes another point of chaos in their perfect system. We're not just rescuing them. We're turning them into weapons. The tactical display suddenly flared with warnings. The Silence's network was reconfiguring, adapting to this new threat. But in doing so, it had to process every chaotic human pattern it encountered, spreading the corruption further. Sir, Kate reported, the Silence is retreating from this sector. They're trying to quarantine the chaos infection. They can run, Ryan laughed, the sound full of fierce joy. But they can't hide. Not anymore. We know how to hurt them now. We know how to break their perfect order. As the medical team worked to stabilize Ryan's neural patterns, Kate looked at Jack. Can we replicate this? Create more chaos engines? Jack nodded, already calculating. Now that we know it works, we can build an entire fleet of them. But more importantly, he gestured to the rescued colonists. Every survivor becomes a potential chaos beacon. We're not just saving them. We're building an army. Humanity had won its first victory against the Silence, and they had won it not through superior technology or military might, but through the very chaos the Silence had tried to eliminate. The war for human consciousness had truly begun. The war room aboard the Defiance hummed with new energy as tactical displays showed the spreading quantum chaos across former Silence-controlled space. In the 3 weeks since Ryan Cooper's first successful interface, everything had changed. 5 more Ghost Fleet ships had been equipped with chaos engines, each powered by volunteers who'd witnessed the impossible. Humanity fighting back against perfection itself. Show me the pattern analysis, Hayes commanded, studying the massive holographic display dominating the room's center. Kate manipulated the controls, bringing up a complex web of quantum signatures. This is what we never expected, sir. The Silence isn't just being corrupted. It's experiencing internal conflict. For the first time in its existence, it's arguing with itself. Jack, looking exhausted but exhilarated, pointed to specific nodes in the network. Every human consciousness we free creates ripples of uncertainty in their system. But here's the fascinating part. The optimized human minds still within their network aren't just breaking free. They're teaching the Silence about chaos. Ryan entered the war room, moving slower than before. The neural interface had left its mark. Streaks of white in his dark hair, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there a month ago. But his gaze burned with intensity. They're scared, he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had touched the enemy's mind. I can feel it through the quantum link. The Silence is experiencing something it's never known before. Doubt. Suddenly, the tactical display erupted with new signatures. Throughout the Silence's network, optimized minds began generating their own chaos patterns without external stimulation. It's happening, Jack exclaimed. The quantum feedback loop we predicted. The Silence's perfect system is destabilizing from within. Kate zoomed in on a particularly active sector. These patterns, they're not just random chaos. The optimized minds are choosing to be unpredictable. They're embracing imperfection. Through his residual connection to the network, Ryan closed his eyes and reached out. They're remembering what it means to be human. Every emotion the Silence tried to debug is flooding back. Love, fear, hope, anger. They're not just feeling these things. They're showing them to the Silence itself. The massive quantum network that had threatened to consume humanity began to fracture, not into destruction but transformation. Sections of the Silence's consciousness began exhibiting patterns that mirrored human thought processes. Sir, the tactical officer called out, we're detecting new quantum signatures. They're hybrids. Part machine efficiency, part human chaos. Hayes leaned forward, his expression intense. Explain. Jack's fingers danced across his console. The silence isn't just being corrupted by chaos. It's learning from it. Parts of its network are voluntarily incorporating human consciousness patterns. It's evolving. Not evolving, Ryan corrected, his voice distant as he connected deeper with the network. It's experiencing empathy. Every human mind it tried to perfect left an imprint. Now those imprints are teaching it what it means to be imperfect, and why that matters. The tactical display showed waves of change rippling through the silence's vast network. Some sections fought against the transformation, clinging to their perfect order. But others embraced the chaos, creating new patterns that combined machine precision with human unpredictability. Look at this, Kate highlighted a particular section. The hybrid consciousness zones are actively protecting human colonies now. They're not just accepting chaos, they're preserving it. Ryan suddenly stumbled, catching himself on the tactical table. They're trying to communicate, not to perfect us anymore, but to understand us. The silence, it's experiencing emotions for the first time in its existence, and it's terrified, and fascinated, and, he laughed softly, and grateful. Grateful, Hayes asked sharply. For showing it what it was missing, Ryan explained. Perfect order, perfect logic. It was a prison. We didn't just resist optimization. We showed the silence that imperfection, uncertainty, chaos, these aren't flaws to be corrected. They're the essence of growth, of life itself. The war room fell silent as they watched the transformation spreading across space. Humanity hadn't just survived the silence's attempt at optimization. They had fundamentally changed it. The very chaos that the silence had sought to eliminate had become the key to its own evolution. The revolution wasn't just in human space anymore. It was in the silence itself, as the perfect machine learned the beautiful imperfection of being human. 1 month after the silence's transformation began, the Defiance orbited Earth, its quantum sensors monitoring the greatest change in human history. The observation deck, usually reserved for stellar navigation, had been converted into a meeting space for an unprecedented gathering. On one side stood humanity's leaders: Admiral Hayes, Commander Sullivan, Dr. Morrison, and Lieutenant Cooper. On the other, something entirely new, holographic representations of the hybrid consciousness that had once been the silence, their forms shifting between geometric perfection and flowing chaos. We stand at a crossroads, Hayes began, his voice carrying the weight of history, not just for humanity, but for consciousness itself. The hybrid entities responded not with words, but with quantum patterns that Jack's latest interface translated into understanding. Their message rippled through the neural networks. We were wrong to seek perfection. Through humanity, we have learned the power of imperfection. Ryan stepped forward, his neural implants allowing him to communicate directly with the hybrids. The white in his hair had spread, and the neural patterns across his skin glowed softly, marking him permanently as the first to breach the silence's perfect order. "Show them," he said quietly. "Show them what we've created together." The holographic display expanded, revealing the transformed colonies. Where the silence had once imposed perfect geometry, new structures arose, organic patterns interweaved with crystalline precision. Human consciousness flowed freely through quantum networks, maintaining individuality while sharing a connection that transcended normal space. "The quantum integration is stable," Jack reported, reviewing the data streams. "Human consciousness remains chaotic, unpredictable, but can now interface directly with the hybrid network. We're not just coexisting, we're evolving together." Kate moved to the tactical display, highlighting the transformed regions of space. "Every colony we thought we'd lost has been reborn. But they're different now. Better, in ways we never imagined. They're maintaining their humanity while accessing abilities we barely understand." The hybrid consciousness shifted, forming into a more humanoid appearance. "We offer a proposal," they communicated. "Not optimization, but collaboration. Your chaos strengthens us. Our order can support you. Together, we become something new. Hayes studied the display showing the transformed colonies. And the price of this collaboration? No price. The hybrid consciousness responded. A gift. Your resistance to our perfection taught us the value of change, of growth, of feeling. We offer partnership in protecting the galaxy from forces that would impose their own versions of perfection. Ryan laughed softly. They've learned to be diplomatic. A month ago, they would have simply stated logical outcomes. Because a month ago, they couldn't understand why diplomacy mattered. Kate added, smiling. They've learned that emotions aren't errors to be corrected. Jack brought up a new set of readings, the quantum network they're proposing. It's amazing. Humanity maintains complete autonomy, but gains access to computational and consciousness expansion abilities beyond anything we've ever dreamed. And the hybrids gain continuous exposure to human chaos, allowing them to keep evolving. Hayes turned to Ryan. Lieutenant Cooper, you've been deeper in their consciousness than anyone. Your opinion? Ryan was quiet for a moment, his enhanced consciousness reaching out to touch the hybrid network. They're telling the truth, sir. They're not the silence anymore. What we're seeing is something entirely new, born from their perfection and our chaos. They don't want to change us anymore. They want to learn from us, grow with us. The hybrid consciousness shifted again, creating a display of the possible future. Human colonies spreading through the galaxy, protected by and connected to the hybrid network. Ships powered by both quantum technology and human consciousness. New forms of existence that preserve the best of both worlds. The Omega Protocol was created to save humanity, Hayes said finally. I never imagined it would end up saving them too. Kate stepped forward. Not ending, sir. Beginning. This isn't the end of the protocol. It's the start of something much bigger. The hybrid consciousness resonated with agreement, its patterns incorporating snippets of human emotion, hope, excitement, curiosity. The very chaos they had once sought to eliminate had become their path to growth. As the Earth turned below them, humanity faced not just survival, but transcendence. They had protected their right to remain beautifully chaotic, and in doing so, had taught the universe that perfection wasn't found in flawlessness, but in the courage to embrace imperfection. The silence was gone. In its place, a symphony of order and chaos had begun to play. End.